unlikeliest member of a boxing team that's had a very bad week in Barcelona. But Montel Griffin is still in the hunt.
After losing both his parents, Tim Austin's Olympic hopes were dimmed by tragedy. But in Barcelona, Austin's dreams are alive again.
The running of the bulls continues in Barcelona. Tonight, a visit from Scottie Pippen.
Nicknamed for a prophet, Zeke Jones tries to make good on a golden prediction. Mount Tibidabo, Barcelona's highest landmark, shines after midnight on this second Tuesday at the Games of the 25th Olympiad. The mountain topped by a church, fronted by the rides and arcades of an amusement park. Hello, I'm Jim Lampley.
And I'm Hannah Storm.
And we welcome you back to our own Olympic amusement park, Club Barcelona. This was a rest day in track and field today. They begin again tomorrow at the Olympic Stadium with Dave Johnson in the decathlon.
And we will have the other half of the Dan and Dave tandem. Dan O'Brien will join us later for a look ahead to the decathlon. Also today, the United States women's volleyball team advanced to the semifinals, beating the Netherlands.
But we begin tonight with boxing, where the controversial computer scoring system has already knocked two-time world champion Eric Griffin out of the Olympics. The bad news for the United States continued today. Two more American boxers losing, Larry Donald and Raul Marquez going out in the quarterfinals. Marquez on a hotly debated computer decision. The computerized scoring system, making its debut here, has spawned a whole new series of obvious competitive injustices.
They just keep tweaking with the sport, but still in the Olympics, controversy in the boxing ring. Oscar De La Hoya and Chris Bird, however, did manage to move into the semifinals yesterday, and fighting tonight, Montel Griffin and Tim Austin. Griffin facing Germany's world champion, Torsten Mai. With the start of the second round, here are Bob Trumpy and Al Bernstein.
There is one of the judges at ringside. Underneath his left finger, I think, is a red button. Underneath his right finger is a blue button. And I'm not sure anything is working. We have a 0-0 score to start the second round.
And in fact, that was Keith Dodsey, the judge that was suspended, came back, scored the Griffin fight 5-8. And guess what? He's still judging, isn't he?
This is his kind of fight.
He loves this.
No score. These are light heavyweights. Winner here advances to the medal round. Montel Griffin at 5 feet 7 inches tall, facing a fighter who is 6 feet 1. The weight level here, 178. Cautioned by the Argentinian to Griffin for hitting with the forearm. Beasley, Reese heard what Joe Bird said to Montel Griffin. What do you got, Beasley?
Well, he told him that he was going to have to win this fight on the inside. Don't stand out there and box with him. He said, jump on the inside, tie him up if you get in trouble, and when you come loose, come out swinging.
Mai takes a 1-0 lead.
And that left that they counted was not even close to being as good a punch as 6 or 7 jabs that he had landed, or that Griffin landed in the first round. And they gave Griffin a right hand that was nowhere near as good as ones he landed in the first round. Well, but guess what? We'll take it, right?
Sure, it's obvious. They're a lot less selective in the second round than they are the first round.
That's absolutely true, and we've seen that in a number of bouts. There's an uppercut on the inside by Griffin, and you'll never get credit for an uppercut. Montel Griffin's dad, Clarence Griffin, a great boxing figure in Chicago that I knew. He had the Windy City Gym, formerly the Johnny Coulon Gym. He would be very proud. He passed away. He's very proud to see his son at this level of amateur boxing.
Now, let me ask you this. We know that this electronic scoring was put into this Olympics in kind of a rush order because of all of the problems they had in '88. Is this a scoring system that you think can survive?
Not anymore. And this exhibition is shameful. This is why it can't survive. This and the fight in which Raul Marquez lost are examples of how shameful the quality of judging is. That first round should have been 6-6 maybe for Mai and for Griffin. Both men were penalized. That's an interesting move, Griffin turning lefty, and he can do that, and I think that'd be a very interesting ploy. Yes, and it's working.
He's a former left-hander. He is left-handed, has great power in his left, but fights from the right-hand side. Why not?
And Mai doesn't see that many lefties in the light heavyweight division, so it's an interesting ploy. Well, he keeps bouncing punches off the head of Torsten Mai. And like Mai, he's not getting credit for him.
Well, 20 seconds left in round 2. The 5 judges sitting at ringside with a touchpad in their hand have judged that a grand total of 2 punches, 1 for each, were hit with a certain amount of force in a scoring area not blocked by the white portion of the glove. This is thrilling.
The games of the 25th Olympiad are brought to you by Miller Sharps, the crisp, refreshing taste of beer anytime. Keep your edge. By Moen Faucets. Moen, buy it for looks, buy it for life. And by Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering.
Torsten Mai, this was his point. Lands a pretty good straight left hand. That's a scoring blow, definitely. They got one. Now Montel with a right hand, and that's a scoring blow. And they did good. Twice they did good.
Well, we start round 3. Score tied 1-1. Montel Griffin in red, Torsten Mai in blue. These are light heavyweights. A weight limit of 178 pounds. Montel Griffin at 5'7", Torsten Mai at 6'1", and the Argentine referee a caution to Griffin for butting. Beasley, what advice did Joe Bird give Montel Griffin now?
Once again, he told him to stay on the inside. He wants him to throw the right uppercut and then come back with the left hook. And then the rest of it was motivation. Give it everything for 3 minutes.
Now, that's pretty good. Griffin landed 2 punches, but he did get credit for 1. And the reason I think Joe Bird wants him to do that is the punch that there's a great left hand, and they gave it to Torsten Mai. It was an excellent left hand by Griffin. They gave the punch to Mai. They hit the wrong button again. It's happened so many times in this tournament, but it's very costly when it's a 2-1 or 2-2 fight.
I think, yes, the Argentine referee, there's a cut open over the eye of Torsten Mai.
That may be the only way to win this bout.
There was also a caution to Montel Griffin for talking. Now he's sending him over to another corner, and he's calling it. The doctor is coming to the ring. 2-2 is the score. 2:06 to go in round 3. Referees and doctors in amateur boxing really protect the fight. Oh, that's a nasty cut. I don't think this fight's going to continue. 2:06 to go in the 3rd period. I'm not sure where that doctor is from. It would be surprising if they're going to let it continue. No. They are going to let it continue. I don't believe this.
Oh, my.
Wait a minute. That's on reputation. Torsten Mai is the reigning world amateur champion. That is on reputation. We've seen him stop fights with a lot less of a cut than that.
And there's the left hand by Montel Griffin that doesn't get there. It gets there, but it doesn't get the point. Again, the left and the right for Griffin. A left hook, and nothing moves in the scoreboard. And I'll tell you something, this is becoming a shameful exhibition on the part of the officials.
Not just this fight, but there have been several tonight. Griffin now aiming at that eye, and I don't blame him.
The jab lands, nothing moves in the scoring, Bob.
Wait a minute. Once again, a caution to Griffin for talking. 3-2 Griffin. 1:20 to go. Blood dripping down the eye of Torsten Mai. The referee should stop this, check it with a piece of gauze, clean it out, call the doctor again. Their number 1 consideration is the boxer.
No!
Points taken away from Montel Griffin for a headbutt.
That is absurd.
Blood dripping. That'll make this fight for Mai. Blood dripping from the eye of Torsten Mai.
They do not want Montel Griffin to win this bout.
The doctor is sitting in ringside. He's not getting out of the chair. Blood is running down the face now of Torsten Mai. The referee is doing nothing. 45 seconds to go.
This is more shameful than the Eric Griffin situation. In any other situation, they would bring the boxer over and have the doctor look at the cut again. Griffin has landed repeated shots. He did not headbutt Torsten Mai. He has stayed on the outside, and he still gets the 3 points added. There's nothing Griffin can do to win this bout. They won't let him win.
The doctor keeps sitting at ringside looking at the clock. He is looking at the clock constantly. This is shameful. There is no question about that whatsoever. That's a caution to Mai for holding.
Torsten Mai is ranked 1 in the world, and they have decided they want him to win this Olympic gold medal, or at least they want him to win this bout. Let me tell you. Where's the points? Finally, a point for Montel Griffin.
It's not going to be enough.
This is not nationalism, folks. This is a bad decision and shameful judging and refereeing.
Look at Montel Griffin. Hands up. Hands up. How can they do this?
This is pathetic. Look at this.
That is the worst injury we have seen in this boxing tournament.
No amateur fight would ever be allowed to continue with a cut like that, and none has been allowed to continue at this tournament. This is a shameful, a job. He'll never be able to fight in the next fight in 2 days. This is atrocious.
Where is the doctor that made that decision? The doctor sitting at ringside is looking at the eye. There is the doctor right there. I don't know where that gentleman is from. He's the man who made the decision.
They've set a new, I didn't think they could set a new low for judging refereeing standards. They have.
Azul, el representante alemán Torsten Mai.
There is no justification for that whatsoever. None.
That is pathetic.
Montel Griffin is leaving. I don't blame him one single bit.
He ran out of this building. The people that should run out of this building are the judges and the referee. Pathetic. Here's the punch that caused the cut by Montel Griffin. And I believe that this was a punch in which they gave the point to Torsten Mai. That was the first of many grievous offenses in this last round. Look at this. No amateur bout, Bob, would ever be allowed to continue with a cut that bad.
The controversy just continues after the ludicrous is the word, after the debacle in 1988. The referee being stormed in the ring, the Roy Jones decision. Boxing was given a chance to clean up its act by the International Olympic Committee. This scoring system, is it the answer? Well, I don't think anyone would tell you that it is, from Eric Griffin to Montel Griffin.
And I was at the competition in March, Hannah, where the scoring system was supposedly being fine-tuned for these Olympics. I didn't know whether to believe international amateur boxing officials when they told me they believed there was a chance they couldn't come back in 1996. But after having seen what we've seen here, you have to seriously doubt whether they belong in the Olympic Games. International amateur boxing is incapable of cleaning up its act.
Well, we will go back to Juventud Pavilion for more, perhaps more controversy later on. But coming up next, a visitor to Club Barcelona. The other bull fighting for Spanish gold on his summer vacation, Scottie Pippen of the Dream Team, next.
Bringing you back inside Club Barcelona just for a brief visit. Bob Trumpy and company are working on a follow-up to the obviously fraudulent non-stoppage of Griffin Mai, and we'll go back to Badalona for that. But first, the hoop dance. With an average winning margin so far in Barcelona of over 45 points per game, the Dream Team's stampede through the Olympic basketball tournament has become a bit like ballet or theater. You know how it's going to turn out, but the aesthetics remain irresistible. Plenty of style points tonight for the Americans in their quarterfinal against Puerto Rico. Larry Bird with the three-pointer, one of 12 tray attempts on which the USA succeeded. The Dream Team scored the first 17 points of the game, led 67-40 at the half, and Magic Johnson showed no signs of rust after his injury last week, scoring 13 points on the night. The United States next plays Lithuania in Thursday night's semifinal. Obviously, no problems tonight. The contest ending on this Scottie Pippen dunk. The United States by 38 over Puerto Rico. And joining us now for another Dream Team complimentary membership visit to Club Barcelona is the one-time NBA draft dark horse who has become one of the league's greatest superstars, Scottie Pippen with Hannah Storm.
Scottie Pippen here in his uniform. He hasn't even showered yet from that game against Puerto Rico. I guess you worked up a little bit of sweat against those guys tonight.
Yeah, we had a nice sweat tonight. Puerto Rico really came out and played well tonight. You know, we accepted a better challenge from them. We knew they was going to come out and try to play us a lot tougher, and they did.
You're a competitor. You like a challenge, but let's face it, you're not exactly playing the Detroit Pistons here in the Eastern Conference Finals. You have breezed through the competition. Is there anything lost in the experience because you haven't been tested or had to elevate your game?
I think we've lost a little bit of our momentum, that adrenaline that really got us out the blocks early in the previous games we played. Tonight we got off to a slow start. The last game we was off to a little slow start, but I think we're going to have to really pick it up these next couple games. Teams are really coming at us now.
Well, Chuck Daly made you guys practice yesterday. I know the golfers didn't like that too much. They had to move back their tee times. Was that a signal to you that, hey, we got to get down to business, the gold medal is at stake here now?
Well, it was definitely a wake-up call. I mean, we got to realize now that, this is what we came over here and spent the last 3 weeks for. And now we got to put everything on the line. We got to really concentrate and keep basketball at the point of our mind.
You have 2 NBA titles. What would a gold medal mean to you? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, I've thought about it. It'd mean more than anything to me right now because, I feel like the two rings are very important to me, and I wouldn't give them up for nothing. But it's a different feeling when you put on this Ready Fighting Blue uniform. You're going out playing for your country, and you just can't put those two in the same category.
And what a unique experience you've had here. I mean, you played in a couple of All-Star games. You've had a chance to sort of get to know some of the other superstars in the league, but just for a short period of time. Now you've been eating and living with these guys for 3 weeks.
Well, it's been great, and it's always great. You go out and spend a weekend with them on All-Star weekend, but it's totally different now. I mean, we've spent the last month together, and it's pretty much everybody knows everyone. We can joke, we can kid around. We seem like we've been teammates for a while.
Speaking of kidding around, I know you've been taking some ribbing from Sir Charles, who says and claims that you look like the official Olympic mascot, Kobe. Now, Scotty, I don't see the resemblance here. Where does this come from?
That was the name that I gave Charles last summer when we was over here on a Nike tour, and when we came back this time, he was able to beat me out the blocks with it. So he was giving me the name now.
Maybe it's something in the nose. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I got to take a better look at Kobe.
You guys have been taking some, not ribbing, but some serious criticism, too, from other people. There was a flap about who was going to stand in what sort of uniform when you guys, if and when you guys do receive your gold medal. Flap about not staying in the athletes' village. People saying that the Olympics are not for the rich and powerful. They are not for the NBA players. Has that taken away at all from the Olympic experience?
It hasn't taken anything away. Only thing we want to do is get this week over. We want to get all the flag behind us. I know a lot of us want to go enjoy being with our families and vacationing. I mean, no matter what we were doing that time, whether we were at the ceremony, it's not going to be any concern to anyone. I mean, right now, our main concern is to win.
All right, you did have one concern in a game earlier, some extra motivation when you played Toni Kukoc of Croatia. I know you were unhappy at the efforts that Jerry Krause made at signing him earlier. You were a little bit insulted by that. Was there a sense of satisfaction in holding him down to 4 points in that game?
Yeah, it was definitely a sense of satisfaction, but that wasn't the most important thing to me. I think the most important thing that what we want to do was beat this team. We heard that they were supposed to be our toughest challenge, and we want to go out and show people that no one's going to be able to stay with the Dream Team, period. And whether they had Toni Kukoc or Drazen Petrovic or whatever, I mean, we was going to go out and do a job with them.
All right, thanks, Scotty. Go hit the shower, okay?
Thanks.
Jim?
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Scotty. And tell Barkley no great insult on the Kobe thing. He's an accomplished member here, too. Well, we'll be taking you back out to boxing to tie up the loose ends in the Griffin-Mai controversy after these messages. Back to Club Barcelona. The blood is still boiling at the boxing ring, and we're ready to go back.
That's right. Bob Trumpy and Al Bernstein are ringside in Badalona with more on the Montel Griffin controversy.
Back in Badalona with the fallout of the Griffin-Mai fight, you're looking at the face of Torsten Mai. He won his fight this evening despite a nasty cut. He is the reigning world amateur champion at the light heavyweight division. The injury occurred in the 3rd round, with the score tied, a left hand delivered by Montel Griffin. Now, isn't the referee's #1 responsibility to protect the fighter at all times? Isn't the doctor at ringside supposed to use extraordinary care in judging the severity of an injury? Is the losing coach entitled to fairness? Beasley Reese asked Joe Bird.
Do you think that something is going on? Do you think that there's something against the U.S. boxing team?
Well, yeah, it's something against the U.S. boxing team. I can say it now. We're not going to get nothing close here. we was the one that kicked against this machine back at the World Games in Moscow. We didn't like the machine, and they gonna take it and show us that they can beat us with this machine, and that's what happening. We getting some pretty bad decisions. Even like last night when we was against Savon, nowhere in the world he throws 7 punts in the last round, scoring blows.
Right.
But they getting these scoring blows, and we're not getting the same scoring blows that other countries get.
In the opinion of the ringside doctor, is this a minor cut? Beasley is with the Cuban physician in charge.
Dr. Oscar Ramirez, do you see the shot that we have on television here?
Yes.
Now, talk to me about when a fight should be stopped. Was that cut bad enough for the fight to be stopped?
Well, when referee called me in the third round, the boxer from Germany has a little cut about 1 centimeter.
Right.
Under the head coach, the head guard.
Okay.
And then when we make compression, the bleeding stopped. I'm not sure. I can't to say if after the coke will be more biggest, but in this moment, 1 centimeter and the bleeding stopped with the compression.
Understand, in amateur boxing, the referee is all-powerful. He can intercede at any time. The man in blue is cut over the right eye. Is this referee's attention focused on the injured fighter? Is he closely monitoring the right eye of the man in blue? What does the deputy medical chairman of Boxing's International Federation think about this referee's judgment?
As I evaluated what happened, I would have thought that the referee would have brought the athlete back for a second check. I am certain in my own mind, knowing Dr. Ramirez, that had the referee done that, asked for a second check, that at that time Dr. Ramirez would have seen the cut was enlarged, which is one thing we look for, and there was more bleeding. He probably then would have stopped it himself.
So, what do you tell Montel Griffin? He beat you fair and square. The cut was minor. Your Olympic dream is over. Beasley's with a shaken fighter.
Montel, when you saw Thorsten taken over to see the doctor, you saw the cut. What were you thinking that the fight would be stopped?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at his eye. He had an inch-long gash on the top of his eye. I thought it was over. You know, it took a long time.
Now, what did you yell out? Did you yell out something that would upset?
I saw the cut. I was like, yeah. I just kind of excited.
So you didn't say anything directly to the referee or to Thorsten?
I'm forgetting. You know, I kind of excited. I was going to tell the ref, but I got kind of excited. And I looked and I said, yeah. And then, you know, the referee saw, you know, referee thought it was up under his eye because I seen him wipe. I saw the cut over the top of his eye. I hit him with a jab. He was coming in. I saw the cut. I saw the blood when it first came out of his eye.
Okay, now what about the accusation that you were butting him? You were trying to hit him with your head.
Look, he's 6'5". I'm 5'7". I'm standing straight up. I wasn't bending my head or nothing. My coach told me get right in his chest and throw uppercuts. Try to land. I was trying to throw roundhouse hooks, uppercuts. That's the first fight out of about 20 fights. But it took a point in the last round. I can't believe it.
Okay, Montel.
So that's what we've been able to piece together for you. And, you know, as people filed out tonight, a little bit of irony. I happened to pick up this magazine, just look through it. It's the official magazine of AIBA, the governing body of amateur boxing. The cover boy, Thorsten Mai. Without the cut, Thorsten Mai.
And it makes you wonder, no, maybe it doesn't make you wonder about why the AIBA people seem so anxious in this bout, frankly, to protect Thorsten Mai. Ranked #1 in the world, not only did the judges not give Montel Griffin much credit for his punches, not only did the Cuban doctor not take into account an atrocious cut, maybe because he thought the Cuban would be Mai's next opponent, but the referee for Argentina saw fit at a precisely bad moment for Montel Griffin after the cut was already bad to add 3 points to Thorsten Mai's total because of a ridiculous warning against Montel Griffin. If ever there was a case that in amateur boxing's favoritism still exists and incompetence still exists, this was it. This is as bad as it gets, Bob.
I'll tell you another thing, too. Remember, when boxing left Seoul in '88, they had a responsibility they felt to clean up their act. Here in '92, I'm not sure they've made any progress.
And it occurs to Hannah and me as we watch that report, there is one more potential procedural step which will offer a litmus test. Will Torsten Mai be eligible to fight in his next fight, or will there be a medical disqualification? If Torsten Mai is medically disqualified, then there is no question that this was an injustice.
Certainly, unless you think the Americans are simply whining about the scoring system because they're having a bad tournament. That is not the case. We must point out that other boxers are also being victimized by the scoring system, and certainly Montel Griffin victimized by a lot more than that tonight. Now, on to a different sport, wrestling, and those score sheets in Barcelona list this man as Larry Lee Jones. By any name, those score sheets confirm that Zeke Jones is on a roll. Welcome back to Club Barcelona, and about 8 miles north of here, the USA boxers faring none too well in Badalona. 3 of them have already lost, but we still have Cincinnati flyweight Tim Austin on the way.
And with the unfortunate bad taste of Badalona boxing still in our mouths, we turn to another form of combat. 25 years ago in Ypsilanti, Michigan, Larry and Shirley Smith had a difference of opinion about what to name their newborn son. They settled on an official name of Larry and an unofficial nickname of Zeke, after the biblical prophet Ezekiel. By the age of 5, Zeke Jones had begun wrestling, and that was just the beginning.
When you step out onto the mat, there's nothing on the outside of that circle. Everything is just black. It's non-existent.
In Zeke Jones's mind, there are just 2 men and the mat.
I see a person in front of me, and I'm constantly looking at ways to attack that person, how I can score, looking for openings. Those are the things that you see. Those are the only things you see.
Ever since age 5, Zeke Jones has been looking for those openings. His brother John entered him in a youth tournament, and Zeke hasn't let up since.
I tell you, I really loved wrestling. I think I was made for it.
At Huron High School in his home state of Michigan, Zeke won 43 straight matches and the state title his senior year. He was expected, like his brother John, to attend Iowa State, but he shocked everyone by choosing Arizona State, a program then headed by 1992 Olympic coach Bobby Douglas.
To this day, I'm so glad I went to Arizona State. I mean, it was the greatest choice for me. You know, I got to be with the best wrestling coach in the world, in my opinion, Bobby Douglas.
He never won an NCAA title, but Zeke was the only collegian to make the U.S. World Championship team in 1989. Then 2 years later, at the 1991 Worlds in Varna, Bulgaria, Zeke found himself in the final against 4-time world champion and hometown favorite Valentin Jordanov. Zeke trailed with less than a minute to go. Incredibly, he turned Jordanov 3 times and won his first world title. No one was happier than Zeke Jones that day, unless it was Bobby Douglas.
For me, it was an emotional event because I saw a guy's dream come true.
Zeke Jones lives and trains in the mountains of Pennsylvania, where he is assistant coach for Wrestling Power Bloomsburg University.
Let's go, Timmy. Hand fake. Sneak, getting close.
In his spare time, Jones teaches at a local wrestling clinic.
Now, yeah, see, now you got a lot more power.
Only 5 feet 4 inches tall and 114 pounds, he looks at times like just another one of the kids. But for Zeke Jones, there will be no kidding around here in Barcelona.
Zeke is one of 5 American freestyle wrestlers who are regarded as having strong chances to medal here. Now, I hope I didn't jinx them the way we did the boxers.
I don't think it was your fault as far as the boxing goes, but indeed, as you pointed out, this is considered by many to be our best freestyle wrestling team ever. And this is our first late-night look at freestyle wrestling in these games. We send it out to Russ Hellickson and Jeff Blatnick, now at the Olympic Wrestling Pavilion.
What a great young man, and when he was 9 years old, Zeke Jones set goals of being a champion wrestler and an Olympian. 10 years later, his mother Shirley hung that essay on the family Christmas tree. And now at 25, Zeke Jones was living his childhood dream, and his friends were there to share the moments. In his first match of the day, he won 1-0, and later in his 4th Olympic match was paired against defending Olympic champion Mitsuru Sato of Japan. We joined the match with about 3 minutes remaining, and Jones is leading 5-0.
Sato is in on a good leg shot here. Jones sprawling back, putting his weight down. Now he's sitting under. He's in a great position to counter now. He wants to post the weight forward and lift Sato's backside over the top.
Jones often gets very aggressive in these positions, and it could perhaps get him into trouble.
Used to throw it over the top, and he did. Able to score 2 points there, but Sato scored 2 points of his own.
And the score now 7-2 for Zeke Jones of the United States.
And again, Sato attacked Jones, trying an inside roll, using his foot to elevate Jones, but Jones again able to counter, putting Japanese wrestler onto his back.
And the half Nelson combination gives him 2 more points, takes the score now to 9-2.
And Jones had an attempt at a fall here, nearly pinning his Japanese opponent. He was able to keep pressure down, but Sato would continue to fight and was able to get off of his back.
The 25-year-old from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, was showing the speed and techniques that had made him the 1991 world champion in this weight class.
Jones attempted to score more points in the top position. Sato was able to counter, and the match returned to the standing positions. The crowd very much behind Zeke Jones, and he would start to play defense to try and protect that 9-2 lead.
A 3-time All-American. Every time he was in the World Championships, he improved from 9th to 4th to 1st, and now he was wrestling for a gold medal.
Despite being a world champion, he was unsatisfied with the attention he received. He was quoted saying that the Olympics are unparalleled in prestige and wanted to add the championship to his accomplishments.
But the Japanese wrestler scores 1 point, takes the score 9-3 with just seconds remaining in the match.
Well, Jones became too defensive and was warned for passivity. Sato, in desperation, put him down on the mat and would try to score some points to get himself back into it. But with a 6-point lead, there was no way that Jones was going to let victory escape. Sato tried, but Jones countered.
And with seconds to go, Sato does get a 2-point tilt. That takes the score to 9-5, but time runs out. And his family celebrates his 4th victory in the Olympic Games. Zeke Jones, the victor, 9-5. One more match tomorrow, and he will be in for the gold medal match. His fiancée also celebrating here in Barcelona.
Jones wrestled well throughout the match and was strong, especially early in the bout. Here he was able to counter his opponent using a front headlock and then change directions, whipping Sato to his back. But Jones would not settle just for the points. He would then step over and nearly pin his Japanese opponent.
But Zeke Jones not the only story on this highly touted USA squad. The big man, Bruce Baumgartner, going for his 3rd Olympic medal. He won his first round over Karel Barbatov 9-1, and now is up against Zsolt Gombos of Hungary.
Baumgartner was able to take Gombos down from the standing position, and then he was also able to turn him, scoring with that gut wrench for another 2 points. Baumgartner has already made history, setting the American record for world and Olympic medals with 8. But he'd like to make more history, to become the first American ever to win 3 Olympic medals.
And Baumgartner dominated on his feet, as he has done throughout world and Olympic competition. The 31-year-old from Cambridge Springs, the adulation of his wife cheering him on, won the match 9-0. Also a factor on this USA team, Kenny Mundy, defending Olympic champion from 1988, but he had a tough time in his match.
Monday was held scoreless, but showing the grit that won him the '88 championships, he came back and won it late.
But the day belonged to Zeke Jones, America's little hero, undefeated at 4-0 and still on his way to the Olympic gold. The arena at Olympic Wrestling Pavilion abuzz, anticipation. Tomorrow, John Smith, the United States Sullivan Award winner, 5-time World Olympic champion, starts his wrestling.
Still to come, 20 years ago, the Shadow of Terror forever changed the Olympics and forever changed this woman's life.
Welcome back. Earlier tonight, Bob Costas looked back 20 years to the tragedy in Munich, the second Tuesday of the 1972 Games that turned what were supposed to be the Games of Joy into the single worst nightmare in Olympic history.
One of the 11 Israelis killed in that incident was fencing coach Andre Spitzer. The circumstances which brought him to Munich and the family he left behind make the events of September 5, 1972 heartbreakingly real today.
Fencing master Andre Spitzer was a gentleman who 2 years earlier had married one of his students, a Dutch girl named Ankie. 2 weeks before the Olympics, the Spitzers welcomed a baby daughter named Anouk. Then Andre left for the games.
Our daughter was in the hospital because she cried 24 hours of the day, and we had no idea why. So the 2 days before the massacre in Munich, we were not even in Munich. We were in Holland at the hospital to see if the baby was doing okay.
He came to the hospital and saw me and kissed me and everything, and then he had to go back. My mother took him to the train station, and when they got there, he missed the train. And he was very happy because he said, well, great, you know, I'll have another day with Anouk and with you.
So I said, no, but you're going to be in trouble, so let's try the next station. So I was driving, and we raced down to the next town.
And he didn't even get time to buy a ticket. He just jumped on the train, and there he went. And obviously he never came back, because that night he went to sleep, and that morning the terrorists got into the village. And apparently, from what I hear, that day I stopped crying too. He's really close to me in a way, although I don't know him at all, but I really feel like I know him. Just a year ago, I went with some friends of mine to Germany and then to the Olympic Village, where I was for the first time. It's houses, people live there, and I just looked at the specific house where it happened, and I wanted so much to knock on the door and say, do you know what happened here? You know, how can you live here in this house? Yes, there is a little memorial stone, but nothing more than that. The biggest thing of my life happened here, and nobody knows.
Joining us now in our late-night studio is the now 20-year-old daughter Andre Spitzer left behind. Anouk Spitzer, we welcome you here with the understanding that you have come to Barcelona to see for yourself the Olympic Games. You went to the opening ceremony and have been here ever since. What did you hope and expect to find here?
Well, first of all, I came for two reasons. The first reason was to see the atmosphere my father was in 20 years ago, to understand better how he felt like and what it meant for him being here. And the second reason, and the strong reason to come here, was to show the world that I'm here, and here I am, and maybe 11 athletes were killed 20 years ago, but it's not over yet, because I'm here in the Olympic Stadium, and look, you know, it goes on.
Do you feel closer to your father in a way, having been here and experienced the Olympics and knowing that this was such an important part of his life, and now that you sort of know what it's all about?
Definitely. All my life has been like a big puzzle. Every time I get another piece. You know, I've been to Munich, that was a very big piece. And now being in the Olympics has been another very big piece for me to understand better, you know, how it is like. What are all the people talking about? Yes.
There was considerable controversy 20 years ago, and there is still controversy today about the decision of the International Olympic Committee to resume the Munich Games after the death of your father and 10 other Israelis. Having been here, do you have a strong feeling one way or the other about that?
Yes, I still think that it's terrible that the Games went on. I mean, the idea is very nice, but how can the Games go on? 11 people were murdered. I mean, my mother was there the day of the ceremony, the day after the murder, and she was walking to the stadium where they held the ceremony. And on the sides of the street, there were people, you know, training and stretching and preparing themselves for the 100-meter run or whatever. And I can't imagine, you know, how it must have felt like, you know. Who cares about making a record? Who cares? It's meaningless. 11 people were killed.
Since you have been here, you have been talking to so many people in the media and other people about what happened to your father. Has that helped you find any peace in a way that people remember your father and that they view this as important?
Well, first of all, I have a feeling that they don't remember, because 20 years later, there's still no moment of silence for those athletes who died. There has been a moment of silence at a ceremony which the Israeli Olympic team held in one of the hotels. And there I said it too, I think it's terrible that they don't have a minute of silence for those boys, because there weren't only 11 Israelis, and that's what the world wants to see. It's an Israeli problem, and let them deal with it. But those were 11 athletes, and I think the world of sport can stand a moment of silence for those.
So you will communicate directly with the IOC about that?
Tomorrow, yes.
What were your emotions when you saw the Israeli delegation here and when you see them compete?
Well, I was sitting in the opening ceremony, and I have to say there were mixed emotions, because from the one hand, I was feeling so proud and so happy to sit there and to be there. And I knew my father would be proud of me that I was there. But I was sitting there and I was watching the Israeli team marching in. And all I could think about that 20 years ago, my father marched there too, the same way.
And there are so many what-ifs about what happened to your father 20 years ago. If he hadn't gotten on the train, if he had been in apartment 2 instead of apartment 1 or 3, if the Germans had been better prepared at the airport. How do you avoid, or can you avoid, being haunted by the what-ifs?
No, you can't, and we're very busy with this issue. I think we'll never have peace until we know the truth, until we'll know what happened in Munich. 20 years after Munich, we still don't know what happened there. And I think it's about time that somebody will tell us, because I have a right to know how my father died, who killed him. Not that it will bring him back, but I think somebody has to take the responsibility, because so many mistakes did happen in Munich. And it's very easy to say, oh, the terrorists, they killed your father and we killed them and now it's over. But it's not, because the Germans made so many mistakes, and I think Munich 72 could have a different ending.
Anouk Spitzer, thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more right after these messages.